All right, and this is that same particular cluster of storms coming off the western coast of Africa that we've looked at beforehand in a preceding video. And we have the intertropical convergence zone, that dense rain belt that we see very common here where we have convergence. And this is also the origins of a lot of the tropical waves. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn on the mean sea level pressure. And that'll help to see some of these waves. And so there's already a tropical wave there, and there's another tropical wave there. And so this is what I want you to think of. Think of these waves not so much as something that you see crashing on an ocean shoreline at the beach, but instead this is in terms of the shape of a wave. Think about what a wave looks like. A wave has that very characteristic shape as it comes crashing down. And so we have that wave effect, and it's more the wind direction, and we see that's kind of the wind changing direction. As we see right there, another one over there. So let's go back to this case study that we're going to be working with, this particular developing low pressure and storm activity off the coast of Western Africa. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this forward a couple days, and we're going to essentially watch this as it moves now and brings this cluster of storms to the west as we makes its trek across the Atlantic Ocean. And here you can see this wave. This is a tropical wave in which you're now starting. So I'll go ahead and I'll zoom. Now that I've zoomed into this low pressure, you can see this wave effect and a little bit of cyclonic activity, which we would expect here. And once again, along the equatorial low pressure trough, a low pressure area, of course, we're going to see cyclonic activity. But it's within these particular waves which we should expect to see the early formation of a tropical depression. Once again, the key with the tropical depression is we go from these tropical waves to now we're getting that circular motion. Now we get that cyclonic activity, which we barely can see there. Really don't see it there. We don't see that coming back around over here. And so that's the tropical wave that over time could become a tropical depression. Now let's go ahead and put this forward one more time. And that wave now should be clearly seen here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw in the cloud pattern. And this is very predictable also. And so if we think about this wave, okay, if you imagine this wave right here crashing in, okay, I don't want you to think it like that, but this leads to visualization as far as the shape. But look on this so-called this right side of this wave, on this up part of this wave, how we have cloud cover. But then on the other side here, we get a little bit less cloud cover. And so it's common, a little bit more calmer skies on this side. And this is very characteristic of a tropical disturbance. And so if I go ahead and put in the precipitation, so we have a cluster of storms. Some of them organize them, some of them have not. So they're all clustering, but they're clustering on this side of the wave. Notice kind of the back side of the wave as it comes up and then down. It's over here on this side of the wave is where we see. And so tropical disturbances are very characteristic, kind of north to south shape as well, kind of following along with that wave. I'm going to continue to put this in motion, going up one day. And so now we go closer to these islands, and so here we see a tropical depression. This is definitely a tropical depression because as I go into this center now, I can see that cyclonic flow. No longer do you see that wave continuing on and heading. Now you're starting to get that spin. Now you're really starting to see it form. And it's forming over here, in this case over this particular area where we have very warm seawater. But it's even warmer to the west, because essentially what we're going to do is as we go to the west, we're going to go to the more shallower end of the pool where the water is warmer. Keep in mind this is in August, late August, and so this is where we're going to have warmer seawater temperatures in this particular area of the world than perhaps any other part of Northern America. I'll go ahead and put the motion in one more time, going farther. And so now this particular tropical storm became a tropical storm at this point because the wind speeds increased. So go ahead and look at the wind speeds. We're looking at wind speeds of 52 kilometers per hour. That's we're wanting miles per hour here, but so we can see the very fast winds. And this is the island of Puerto Rico. And so the tropical storm passed right over the island of Puerto Rico. And we'll come back later on and talk about some of the damage left behind line from this tropical storm just breezing right by the island of Puerto Rico. And so we have a tropical storm, not yet a hurricane because the winds aren't strong enough. But we're going to put this in motion. As it continues to intensify, now we have a huge amount of rainfall, dense amount of rainfall. And so what's happening here is you got orographic precipitation at work. And so you got some upland areas, and so this warm, moist air all of a sudden comes up with this upland areas, and so now you're going to get a huge amount of precipitation, and then that updraft of air creating, once again, these very, very, very strong storms. So let's continue on. We'll have this now start to move over the warm waters of the Caribbean. And now it's really starting to intensify. Now, if this hurricane would have came over onto Cuba, kind of kept on coming up this direction, it would have maybe lost some of its strength as the land kind of slows it down. But what ended up happening was the very warm water here. I'm going to go ahead and look at the surface temperature of the water. We should see dark colors. Yeah, look how warm that water is. And so that's adding fuel. And I'll come back to in the next part when I talk about hurricanes growing. What causes them to grow big time is the role of warm seawater. And so here we've got the warmest seawater, pink, in this particular area where this particular tropical cyclone is soon going to be forming.